So I'm really excited to be here, partly because I saw when we did raise of hands how many of you are new, and it takes me back to my first time at GopherCon, and it was like it really changed my life. It really did, and I saw people that felt like family, and I wanted to be a part of that. And here I am, 8 years later, having been a part of it, and I hope you feel like you're a part of our family now too. So with that, I'm going to talk to you about Go's journey to mainstream and beyond. So, as you may know, I've started a new role at 2 Sigma, a financial sciences company. And here we are you don't need to, you do need to read this. This is important. Um, Here we are pushing the limits of data science and machine learning. And as part of a regulated industry, we take these regulations very seriously. So you should recognize that nothing I will say today should be viewed as an investment advice. Now let's talk about Go. So go with me back to 2015. The Go project had just celebrated its 5th birthday. Go 1.5 was released, and Go was experiencing a lot of firsts. First conferences, first adopters, first niche. There was a lot of excitement about the language and where it was heading. Cloud infrastructure had fallen in love with Go through projects like Kubernetes and Docker, who presented a glimpse into the future. But there was also a lot of uncertainty. The language was still young, and there were a lot of unknowns. Go's success with early adopters from cloud infrastructure had plateaued. Enterprises remained skeptical. Go was used more on hobbies than at work and considered not ready for the enterprise. At times, it seemed like Go was destined to be stuck in the niche of cloud infrastructure, where Go had success, but if it remained there, would fall far short of its potential. This chart, made popular by the book Crossing the Chasm, depicts the major stages that every technology goes through. Of particular note is the large chasm towards the end of the early adopter phase. The vast majority of technologies climb the hill of innovators and early adopters, reach the chasm, and are unsuccessful in their attempts to cross into mainstream usage. Failing to cross, they roll backwards, starting the slow, or sometimes fast, decay into obscurity. In 2015, Go was in the precarious position of facing the chasm with no clear strategy of how to cross. Other mainstream languages crossed by adding features from each other until they all looked overwhelmingly similar, a symbolic chimera of a language. This is not the Go way. The question we faced was, how can you take Go mainstream without mainstreaming Go? For Go to remain, it needed to take a different path than all prior languages. Today, I'm going to share with you the stories and lessons I learned from the 6 years I spent leading the Go project. Many things I'm going to share with you that have never been shared publicly before. I'm going to give you an insider's view into the true journey Go took to cross the chasm into the enterprise mainstream. In order to do that, I'm going to talk about these 3 things today. First, how Go embraced the community. Second, how we changed Go itself. And third, how we rewrote Go's story. If you want to travel fast, go alone. If you want to travel far, go together. With this proverb in mind, we knew that Go needed to grow its community and change how it approached leadership. As an aside, this photo captured a moment during the first GopherCon EU in Iceland, where gophers spanned across continents as a symbol of Go's global community. So this is the story of how Go embraced the community. In 2015, Samir had taken the reins as the manager of the Go team, and Russ had stepped into his role as the solo tech lead of the project. Through my work as an early Go community member, organizing Gotham Go and GopherCon, and maintaining several large Go projects, I got to know the Go team, and in 2016, they brought me on to provide an outside perspective and to help them figure out how to scale Go. Well, Go was open source from early on. Up until this point, Google's focus for Go was overwhelmingly internal usage. The Go team inside Google was designing Go for users it knew well, Googlers. Go could not cross the chasm by focusing on Google's Go users alone. We needed to pivot our focus. The very first step in crossing the chasm was to listen. And we did that with the Go survey, which launched in 2016. Collectively, all of you identified who Go's users were, our challenges, and where we needed to improve. I believe that this single survey did more to propel Go across the chasm than anything else we did as a project. For instance, previously the Go team had no idea that writing CLIs in Go was common, much less the number one use case, although I feel like I might have had a clue about that. You taught us that this was one of Go's biggest strengths, and this played a huge role in defining Go's strategy. Taking what we learned from the survey, in 2017, we began implementing new programs and processes to amplify the growth of the Go community. We experimented with a new proposal process, working groups, a contributor summit, and a contributor workshop. Building off the understanding we developed from the survey, we refined the proposal process to include a critical and previously missing step, experience reports. These rooted each proposal in tangible user problems and made the community a critical component of the proposal process. The contributor summit and workshops were both held here at GopherCon. The contributor summit was the first time that a sizable group of contributors to Go met in person to whiteboard and discuss ideas. The event went on all day and into the evening. Attendees were passionately hacking together ideas and making deep and lasting connections. Hundreds of people attended our initial contributor workshop to make their first contribution to Go. We created a scoreboard, shown here, which added points each time someone made a contribution. As this had never been done before, we had no idea what to expect. The engagement and excitement was far beyond anything we could have anticipated. I vividly remember the entire room bursting into cheering when we hit 2,000 points. Shortly after these events, the project reached a critical milestone. For the first time, there were more contributors outside of Google than inside. Beyond this, more and more accepted proposals were coming from outside of Google as well. Events like this are defining moments for projects. Another defining moment happened at the same GopherCon. There were people that needed to be a part of Go that weren't here because we hadn't done enough to ensure they felt welcome. We held a DEI empathy session where people bravely stood up and shared their experiences. Emotions ran deep from all who attended. That day, thanks to candid sharing from courageous community members, the community forever changed. It was clear that while prior efforts were positive, they didn't do enough to accomplish our goals of being a healthy, friendly, and welcoming community. This led to a small but significant change to our code of conduct, providing Go community leaders the tools they needed to ensure that underrepresented people felt welcome to be Gophers. This has led to a more healthy, productive, and inclusive community. The work here is ongoing, and in 2021, we made another small but significant change to the code of conduct, adding a new Gopher value, be responsible. It also led to the creation of the Go Developer Network, a worldwide and distributed set of meetups with training and sponsorship provided by a partnership of Google and GoBridge. All right, now I'd like to share with you a story from my friend Jessica. She couldn't be here today, but she sent a video so we can have her tell her own story. So join with me while we watch Jessica's story.
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying the conference. Thank you, Steve, for giving me this opportunity to share my story with everybody. My name's Jessica, and I switched into tech in 2018. Before that, I had been working as a camera assistant in the film and television industry, and also as a coffee roaster. I don't have any formal training in technology, and I consider myself to be a self/community taught developer. My journey with Go began when I attended a workshop by the awesome Bill Kennedy, who I'm sure many of you know, which was organized by my local chapter of Women Who Go, which is Berlin. This chapter is headed by Rona Steinberg, who's also at the conference with you, and has been a great inspiration and encouragement for me throughout my journey. I really loved the opportunity to learn about Go from the community, but also the chance to network with other industry professionals and to make the realization that I could indeed make the switch into a career in tech. I was also given the opportunity and support to attend GopherCon Europe, which allowed me to meet Gophers from all around the world. For all of the support from the community, I'm incredibly grateful because I am indeed today a software engineer who uses Go in her day-to-day work. This has been a really big life change for me, and I'm very grateful for all of those who supported me and the community around this amazing language that we all love. That's why I've chosen to volunteer my time and give back to the community, mainly through Women Who Go, supporting others like myself who are getting into the language. My hope is that together we can make this community even more welcoming, more inclusive, more diverse, and encourage more people to use the language that we're all passionate about.
So I'm inspired by Jessica's story, and I hope you are too. This is representative of countless stories of people throughout the world who are having Go and Go communities make life-changing opportunities for them. So with the new code of conduct and the learnings from our DEI empathy session, we also revamped Go's online communities, especially Reddit and Slack. Here, new moderators were appointed and empowered to create safe spaces with the new code of conduct. These online communities have thrived and grown immensely and were especially valuable during the lockdown days of the pandemic. So what lessons did we learn by embracing the community? First, be vulnerable. It takes courage to admit that what got us here won't get us there. We needed to be vulnerable and transparent, reflecting about what we didn't get right and didn't yet understand. Second, we needed to understand how Go needed to change, not defend our previous decisions. Through surveys, interviews, and more, we were able to better understand our community's needs. As we learned to listen, we realized that we needed to make some changes to Go itself. Our users were clear that dependency management was Go's biggest need. From this, we knew the problem domain, but didn't understand the problem yet, especially since Google's monorepo approach was so dramatically different from the approach the rest of the world used. We need to learn from our current users and from our future users. We ran over 30 targeted interviews with a broad set of folks representing enterprises, startups, cloud natives, and more. As expected, we spoke to Go users, but we also intentionally spoke to users from other languages as well. From these interviews, we compiled a list of over 100 needs that users had in a dependency management system. Some examples: no dependency conflicts. Builds need to be reproducible. Treat test dependencies like other dependencies. And ensure dependency licenses are compatible. With our list in hand, we conducted another set of interviews with implementers of or contributors to nearly every major dependency management system. Together, we created a large matrix comparing how every current and proposed dependency manager lined up against these needs. I believe this is the most comprehensive study done into dependency management ever in our industry's history. As you can see, there's a lot of red boxes, meaning that the user's needs weren't being addressed. And if you were curious, the solution with the most green was Composer, PHP's dependency manager. That is, until Go modules. Modules checked the most boxes, eliminated some needs entirely as our unique approach avoided the specific need. By learning from our peers and the community, we were able to satisfy virtually all of our users' needs. And as Russ demonstrated this morning, modules provides a framework to address even future needs. Today, virtually all of you are using modules with a high degree of satisfaction. With dependency management now addressed, our users set their attention on generics. The 2019 survey made it clear, of the 25% of users who felt that Go lacked features, 4 out of 5 of them meant generics, which was 20% of our total users. Generics proposed a huge challenge to Go with significant risk. We had a lot of evidence from our conversations with the Java and other language teams that adding generics to those languages fundamentally changed the languages and increased complexity. Go with generics needed to simplify and still feel like Go. The attempts to add generics to Go over the previous 10 years were unsuccessful in accomplishing these goals. But while being unsuccessful, they were critical steps towards understanding how generics might work in Go. Robert and Ian continued to learn and experiment, and in 2021, they had refined these learnings into a draft proposal that we felt was a good starting point. We needed the entire community's help to see if we could take this and turn it into something great. While the proposal was well received, there were also strong and trusted voices who worried generics would change or even ruin Go. Hundreds of you provided feedback on the proposal, and thousands of you gave feedback on the prototype. We listened to all of this feedback and kept going back to see how we could further simplify the design. Even after the proposal was accepted, we continued to refine the approach. Ultimately, we knew we had the right design when the majority of people who expressed concerns, which included several members of the core Go team, were supportive. Generic shipped in Go 118. It's a beautiful solution. It feels like Go. It works seamlessly with interfaces while enhancing their capabilities. And it created simplicity instead of complexity, something many people thought was impossible. Perhaps most importantly, generics have been received really well by you. About a quarter of you are using them, and the majority of you aren't using them yet. You're waiting until the need is right, which is exactly how we hoped you would use them. So what lessons did we learn through changing Go? Lesson 1, learn from, but don't copy others. If we simply copied others, we would have inherited their solutions' advantages, but also their solutions' disadvantages. We succeeded by learning from others and then doing it Go's way. And 2, simplify without compromise. With language design, you only get one chance to do it right. With the goal of simplicity and the luxuries of time and an engaged community, we were able to accomplish things never before done in other languages. With these lessons learned, we realized the next step was to rewrite Go's story. In 2006, Princeton psychologists Willis and Todorov shocked the world with the revelation that all it takes is 1/10 of a second to form an impression of a stranger, and that longer exposures do not alter those impressions, although they might reinforce your confidence in your instantaneous judgment. Go's first impression through our website screamed research project, and enterprises and mainstream users struggled to take it seriously. The message here is clear. Try Go and you will like it. This message did not land with enterprises. Benjamin Kane, a principal engineer at American Express, shared, as with many engineering decisions, Go started as a grassroots effort. Before we could start rewriting critical platforms in Go, we had to first convince our leadership. We kept hearing stories like this, very successful grassroots efforts at enterprises, which then struggled to gain broad adoption and leadership buy-in. Even with a successful proof of concept, these teams felt inequipped to persuade their leadership, citing a lack of resources and brand awareness. This was supported by data from our survey, which revealed that Go's biggest adoption blockers were not technical, but social. The problem wasn't that Go technically wasn't ready for the enterprise. The problem was that Go didn't look like a mature enterprise language. Go didn't appear to be a language with the backing of one of the world's largest and most innovative tech companies. Our engineering team did what they do best. They wrote great software and often viewed this as the way to solve all problems. During this time, we adopted a slogan on the Go team. You can't engineer your way to adoption. If you build it, they will not come. We needed social solutions to social challenges. Step 1 was to mature the Go brand while amplifying all of the core spirit that was embedded in our culture, especially our beloved Gopher. We spent many weeks working with a design agency to come up with a new brand. This included a new visual identity and a new narrative with deliberate audiences and targeted messages to each audience. With the new brand defined, Go's website was reborn as go.dev with a more established and polished feel, incorporating our mainstream brand messaging. It included use cases, which changed the narrative from try it, you will like it, to we, as in established leading companies, tried Go, and it worked well for us. And for the first time, Go declared use cases that Go is great for. This provided further guidance to technical decision makers. And while Golang.org only had official content, which presented a very limited view of the world, Go.dev instead presented a holistic view without limitation, third-party and first-party content intermingled. Go.dev provided guidance using the best resources available, regardless of authorship. What lessons did we learn by rewriting Go's story? Lesson 1, dress for the job you want. For Go to be enterprise, it needed to look and speak enterprise. And lesson 2, the most powerful stories are told by those who have firsthand experience. Studies have shown that as high as 90% of decision makers report that their number one influence in making decisions is case studies. These stories provided critical social proof that led to significant enterprise adoption. So having shared the journey, now let's see what kind of an impact it had. We saw a huge shift. Go changed from a hobby language to a professional one. Go went from the fringe of companies to being at the center, playing a critical role in over 2/3 of companies surveyed. Most importantly, Go landed with enterprises, which now make up Go's largest demographic. So where's Go today? Go is a top 10 language with 1 in 9 developers regularly writing Go. Go has crossed the chasm and is carrying its momentum into the early majority, but there is still a lot of Go story to be written. So how do you take Go mainstream without mainstreaming Go? We did it by listening to our users, by speaking the language of the mainstream enterprise, by learning from others, by solving problems in the Go way, and writing the future together. Well, nobody knows what the future will hold. I believe that you will take us there. I'm excited by efforts I'm seeing in these areas. Go courses in higher education from top schools, including CMU and MIT. Internet of Things efforts led by TinyGo. Security efforts, including fuzzing and vulnerability checking, which Katie spoke about this morning and Cameron's going to speak about tomorrow. TUIs and CLIs, leveraging projects like Cobra and Bubble Tea. Machine learning, AI, and data science efforts, including a master's program at Northwestern, and projects like Gorgonia and GoLearn, and efforts at places like 2 Sigma. And GUI applications from Electron, Whales, and Lorca, or native ones from Fine, Geo, and Ebitan. Now, let's go write the future together.